kind of paid attention to any of that 2024 hype in the draft next year?
I think just from what you hear and what you see on certain things, naturally you can come across it and it's out there. But I'm very excited this year. At least you're relevant. Last year wasn't even being talked about.
Welcome to another episode of Preferred Walk On. I'm your host, Max Chadwick. We've got another interview for you guys today. If you haven't already, check out the series of interviews that I've done so far. And this is a big one. Oregon quarterback Bo Nix, who was a 3-year starter at Auburn before transferring to Oregon, and he had his best year yet this past season. He had an 82.3% adjusted completion rate, which if you don't know, basically your completion percentage plus any drops that your receivers have. That was second among all quarterbacks in the country and led all Power 5 quarterbacks. And he also led all Power 5 quarterbacks with 14 rushing touchdowns last season. He's my number 5 quarterback in college football heading into the 2023 season, and currently the number 3 quarterback in the 2024 NFL draft, according to my colleague and PFF's lead draft analyst, Trevor Sikkema. As always, check out the feature article I did on Bo Nix over at pff.com, and a major thank you to the executive producer of the show and the guy who sets up every single one of these interviews, Dave Sofaro, for another huge one on this show. But without further ado, here he is, Oregon quarterback Bo Nix. All right, so first question I want to ask you, dude. Obviously, your dad, Patrick, the quarterback gene runs in your blood, dude. He played for Auburn, was your high school football coach as well. How much of an advantage was it learning from your dad?
I would say it was a huge advantage from an early age. He was my coach. He taught me everything I knew about the game of football. When I started playing football in 7th grade, he was the varsity football coach, so he was around quite a bit. And then when I got to high school, obviously he was my coach for 4+ years. And so he was around a lot. He did everything when it came to football. And so I was just very fortunate to have a father like that who was not only knowledgeable of the game, but just a very good person, very good coach. He just wanted the best for me.
And dude, obviously he did a pretty good job coaching you up, man. You were a superstar recruit coming out of high school, former 5-star recruit. What was that pressure like, being a 5-star like that? And when did you kind of know, hey, I'm better than everyone on the field right now. Maybe a football career is possible for me.
It was always a goal and a dream of mine. And so, I just always worked extremely hard at it and just did my best. And around high school, recruitment started to speed up. And then that's when you kind of know you have an opportunity once you get that first, offer. And then it's kind of like, whoa, I can really do this. And then from there, it allows you to work even harder. And, your goals just kind of expand. And for me, I always wanted to, be the best I could be in college, but at the same time, compete against the other guys around me and the other quarterbacks in the country. And that was just, kind of in high school when you had the Elite 11 and the scholarship offers and all those camps. It was just, it was a good time to compete in high school football. And I think that's was one of the most fun parts about it.
I wanted to ask you a quick question about Auburn. Obviously, you went there, your dad went there too. What do you think you remember the most from your 3 years there at Auburn?
That's a loaded question. Just because that my whole life I wanted to play football at Auburn, and so I got to accomplish my dream, and I got to go and do a lot of really fun things. I was around some great people. I met my wife Izzy at Auburn. I got to graduate from Auburn. I got my diploma from there. I beat Alabama, and so I got to do some really cool things. I'm very fortunate. And I say that because one of my ultimate goals was to play football at Auburn and beat Alabama. So that's why that's important. And so those are the things that I remember just growing up, being an Auburn fan. That's what you kind of want to go and do. And so that's what I had a chance to do when I got there. And not only that, we had a bunch of great memories, great games to be a part of. some fun seasons, some not so fun seasons, but that's just kind of what made me into who I am today, I believe.
I love that, dude. And obviously, you entered the transfer portal, one of the top quarterbacks in the transfer portal. What made you decide on Oregon ultimately when you're in the portal?
Well, everything kind of led to Oregon, coaching staff, players, situation, everything kind of halted and it was just Oregon, all the way. And I kept reminding myself and asking myself, why not Oregon? What does Oregon not provide? And I could not find the answer. So Oregon was by far the best situation for me, and it has worked out unbelievably well, far better than what I could have imagined. I wanted to go somewhere and give myself a chance, and a chance I definitely got, and Oregon has definitely blessed me.
Hell yeah, man. I love that. So I don't know if you probably do remember this definitely, but I was looking back at your career. I was like, oh my God, his first game was against Oregon, and you had that thrilling, obviously, victory over them. How weird is it looking back as your first start ever, being that thrilling win over the team that you're currently playing for? And do any of the players who maybe played in that team kind of give you flack for that game?
Yeah, I still get jokes all the time, even in my second year, between coaches and former players and fans. I get a lot of heat from that one, but I think it's just it's ironic that that's the first team you play, and then you turn around and you're playing for them, and so it's just part of the script that you can't make up. It's just things happen like that sometimes.
It's a Hollywood script for you for sure, man, because obviously you've experienced ultimate highs in your career, some lows in your career too. How do you block out the noise and just focus on what's in front of you in your career?
Well, it can be hard, but you got to limit your distractions. You got to limit your time on social media, or you will fall into the trap of listening to what other people say. But then at the same time, when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter what others say. They're entitled to their own opinions, and there's a lot of opinions out there. There's just a lot of thoughts, and there's a lot of words and actions out there, and it's on a lot more than just college football. So that's just one thing you got to remember. And I have my opinions, you have your opinions. Everybody is okay to have those. But you got to find your joy. You got to find your constant joy in something other than football, or it'll make you crazy. And mine comes from Jesus Christ, and so I know that no matter what happens, take football out, I'm still going to be okay, because I have a faith in Jesus, and that is what kind of motivates me and keeps me going, and keeps me level headed, and allows me to limit the distractions, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter.
I love that so much, man. Well, obviously, this past season, it seemed like something really just clicked for you this year, and you became one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Where do you think you grew the most when you got to Oregon?
Well, I think not only situation and coaches and teammates around me, but just another year of growth, maturity. Another year of playing in a different system, and being able to learn something new. And I think we did a good job of doing what I was good at last year. And they Coach Dillingham, Coach Lanning, they put the ball in my hands quite a few times and just let me do what I did best. And like I said, we have great players around me, so it makes it really easy when you have receivers, O-line, running backs, tight ends, that are very talented, and you can just get the ball in their hands. And a lot of my big plays, a lot of touchdowns, all those kind of things were check downs or short throws. And so don't want to take anything from them. They do a great job when their numbers called. And then I think we just played really good as a team last year, and I think we understood the system, and we got after it. We played hard. We played with great effort. We didn't really beat ourselves a whole lot, and I think that's just the name of football.
Absolutely, man. I don't want to sell yourself short either, man, because your deep accuracy I thought was some of the best in the country this past season. What would you attribute that big jump from, becoming one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football? What would you kind of attribute that to this past season?
Well, I think you look at the number of shots we took, you look at the times we threw the ball vertically. It was probably a lot more than I've done in the past. So I knew that once you called it once, it was going to be called again and over and over. And so if it wasn't there the first time, you just throw a check down, and I know they'll call it 2 or 3 plays later. And Coach Dillingham did a great job of that last year, but that's kind of just our system here. Coach Lanning wants to implement, so we'll do that same stuff this year with Coach Stein. And he understands that part of the game. He's going to like the carryover is going to be the same. And so it's just like I said, they just put me in those kind of situations to allow me to throw those vertical shots. And then not only that is when we threw them, they were open. Our guys went and made plays, and so that's huge. And if they weren't there, throw a check down, get a completion, and sometimes that's even more of an explosive. And so you come back and call it again, and then maybe hit the one vertical down the field.
Absolutely, man. You mentioned Coach Dillingham before. We consider him to be one of the best offensive minds in the sport. Obviously, now the Arizona State head coach. What do you think you learned the most from your 1 year with Kenny Dillingham?
Wow. Where do I start? Protections. He was very, very good at teaching protections from a standpoint of not getting too complicated, just kind of making it easy for each quarterback in the room to understand, whether it was me who's played a lot of football or another guy who hadn't played much football or a new freshman. He made it easy for all of us to understand. He was very good at coaching his stuff. He knew how to take his concept and teach it how he wanted it to be done, how he wanted it to be run, and that was just something that translated onto the field because we were always in tune, always in sync of what he called, and we knew how he wanted it to be ran. And then just from like simple things from coverages to game plans to plays to like I said, protections and scheme. He did a good job. He was a very well-rounded coach, and I'm extremely thrilled and excited for him. He got his dream job, and that's one thing that it inspires me when I'm around people and they get elevated, because that means that we're all working together and we're all doing something right because we're all making each other better.
Absolutely. You mentioned Coach Stein, too, coming over from UTSA. We love the offenses that he ran for UTSA. How excited are you to be able to work with him this year?
I'm really excited. I'm pumped. Even my short time with him so far, I've learned a lot of football. I've learned a lot of new things. He has played the position. He has coached it for a long time. He's had many mentors and coaches himself. So he's kind of in my position to where he's been in a lot of systems, and that I think pays off from a football mind. And Coach Stein will do a great job. He's very smart. Football. He's knowledgeable of the game, but at the same time, he's just a savvy coach. He's been there, done that. He knows what to expect. He knows what to do in certain situations. He knows how to handle us as quarterbacks because he's been in the room. And so he does a really good job. I'm excited to play a full season with him.
I'm excited for that too, man. So obviously, I think the best is yet to come for you. But if you had to look back and tell me, hey, this is the best play that I've made in my career so far, what would be the one play that you would go back to and maybe show an NFL GM or a college coach if they ask you what's the best player here? What play would you point to?
That's tough. If I think just the best play, I guess, would be the one against LSU my junior year at Auburn. But that was kind of more of a broken down play. So it's not necessarily one that's like shows like growth or strides or anything. That's just a good football play. There's a drive against Alabama my freshman year that I made. It was like right before halftime. It was a 2-minute drill, and there was 3 throws in that drive that were successful. And I think it goes back to just preparation and studying and knowing what to do with the ball. And so probably that drive, my freshman year against Alabama or the one against LSU. But, there's quite a few that I enjoy. And, it just kind of, or they're the ones that you don't really think about. They just happen and you just go about it naturally.
Dude, I was going to mention that LSU play. It's one of the most ridiculous plays I think I've ever seen a quarterback make, man. And you kind of have that like backyard football mentality at times, but this past season he became much more of like a pocket passer and killing defenses from the pocket. How much do you enjoy that kind of backyard mentality? And are you trying to focus more on developing within the pocket this upcoming season too?
Well, it's I think if you look at the style of quarterback in today's game, there's a variety of different ways you can get the job done, right? There's a lot of different things that you can do. Joe Burrow plays from a pocket, plays clean, plays quick, gets the ball out, very efficient. Patrick Mahomes extends plays, one of the best to ever do it at that, very efficient. So those are like opposite ends of the spectrum, but those guys are elite quarterbacks and they're like playing at MVP level. play right now. And so I think if when you look at that, you see that there's many ways to get the job done. So now what are you best at? What can you manage? And sometimes I've been able to do both, and I think that's good, but at the same time, not every play has to be both. So you have to make sure you do a good job of knowing the time and place to do both. But at the end of the day, I think if you're efficient, you get the ball out quick, and you take completions. That's probably the best way to play. And then after that, you let the other stuff kind of happen naturally when things break down.
That's a great mix, I think, man. You mentioned Mahomes, you mentioned Burrow. What are the NFL quarterbacks that you love to watch on Sundays, and who do you try to model your game after a little bit?
Uh, See, that's such a hard question. I love watching Patrick Mahomes just because his the plays that he makes are so incredible. Joe Burrow's another one. Aaron Rodgers. Those guys are just so talented, so good with the football. They make very smart decisions. And so it's a mix of all those guys. It's hard because, you know, run around and extend plays sometimes and then sit in the pocket. And so there's not really one guy that I would necessarily say, I play exactly like him. There's a few guys at times that I think I've been able to kind of represent and do some things after. But I enjoy watching them all because I think you get great ideas from everybody, and you can kind of collab and make your own kind of style.
And for sure, man, your style could have been on Sundays next year if you wanted after the unbelievable season that you had this past season. But you probably made Oregon's fans year all around the country when you decided to come back to school. What made you want to go for a round two at Oregon?
Well, I think after last year, it was just, it was fun playing football, and you got an extra year, and I just didn't want to exhaust it without giving it the best shot I had. And NFL will be there down the road if whenever I want to come out. But I didn't want to give up on college, and I felt like there's still some things that I wanted to accomplish, and I didn't want to do that and leave without having an opportunity. I wanted to maximize all the opportunities I could get, all the time I could get in college. And with one more year, with the COVID season, with one more year, I figured that it was just best to stay and continue to develop and have another year in another system, just showing some new things. And so, extra time never hurt anybody. And so that's just what I wanted to do.
So, man, when you forego the 2023 draft, obviously a lot of people were already putting you in the top conversation for the 2024 draft. The lead draft analyst at PFF, Trevor Sikkema, he has you as with you and Caleb Williams as the top two quarterbacks next year in next year's draft. Have you kind of paid attention to any of that 2024 hype in the draft next year?
I think just from what you hear and what you see on certain things, naturally you can come across it and it's out there. But I'm very excited this year. At least you're relevant. Last year wasn't even being talked about, so I think it's a blessing. I was reminded the other day by somebody. It's like, dude, isn't it cool that you're being talked about? And I was like, yes, it is. It's I'm blessed to be in this situation because a year ago, nobody was talking about it, all this kind of stuff. And so now the hard work is starting to show and pay off. And so it's good to have that perspective and be reminded that, that is cool that you're even talked about. But at the same time, where I come from and my point of view, my perspective is like, competitive and, want to be, the best that I can be and give myself a chance, to be the best version of myself possible. And hopefully by next year when the draft comes around, somebody else sees that and they, allow me to play for them and maybe pick me at a higher spot. But, obviously that's the end goal, but that's out of my control ultimately. And all I can do is go out there and play really good football and execute the play that's called and put the ball where it's supposed to be put. And, that's all my job really is. It sounds that easy. And so let's try to go out there and do it again.
I know for a fact it is definitely not that easy, man. But I don't know if you were aware of this, but there was like this meme from your time at Auburn. It was like, oh, this is the year. Bo Nix is winning the Heisman this year. Now, all of a sudden, you look at a lot of odds makers. You are definitely one of the top Heisman candidates. for next season. Is that always been kind of like a childhood dream of yours, was to take home the stiff arm trophy like that?
Yes, it was, and I think that's a lot of people's dreams, and that's a lot of people out there who are going after it. And so, it's just yes, it's a goal, and like that, and being a draft pick, all this is in there. But the ultimate one of my ultimate goals right now is to win a championship. And so it doesn't matter what kind of championship, because championships lead to other championships. And so if you win one, you have a chance to play for another. And so my goal is to make it to a championship and to play and win a national, or play and win a championship. And then hopefully that'll lead to another kind of championship. But, I think I owe that to my team. I owe that to my coaches, just to do what I got to do to help them win. Because team success always ends up in individual success. And so, if you put the individual stuff aside, usually when you play for a bigger goal and play for, more than just yourself, those kind of things happen a little bit easier without them even kind of being in the forefront of your mind. But ultimately, I just want to win a championship for Oregon and, go out and do something in college football.
I think that's a perfect mindset, man. So what is your why? What makes you get out of bed every single morning?
Well, I believe that, the Lord's placed me here. Right now it's in Eugene, Oregon. He has put me here for a reason, to go out and impact other people, to be a great leader, to be a great teammate, to be very coachable with my coaches, to be, a great role model for kids who want to grow up and be, something like myself, and hopefully they're even better when they get to this opportunity. And, I just want to be, a light to other people, and to show that, there's a lot more out there than just football and just success and just wins and even adversity. Like, you're bigger than all this kind of stuff that you're thrown at. And I've been through, all of it, the good and the bad, and I'm still here, still the same guy. And so I just want to show that to other people and be an impact to those, around me. And ultimately, it's my teammates who I'm around every day. It's the staff, and it's the administration, everybody that I see each and every day at the complex. And if I'm making their lives better, then that's my why, and that's why I do it.
I love that, man. So you obviously have one of the coolest stories in college football, but I think one of the coolest stories as well is the fact that your adopted brother, Tez Johnson, who was a superstar wide receiver at Troy, now he's playing with you at Oregon. How cool is it that next year you're going to be throwing passes to your adopted brother?
It's probably even it's cooler than I can even like explain to y'all, just because of his story, and our story, how him and our family, we go, back to high school, and we were high school teammates. And, his dream, when as soon as he got in our house, he wanted to be an Oregon football player. And long story short, we get all the way to here, and now it happened. And, it's the things you can't make up. It's the stuff in life that you just walk by faith, and you do what you're supposed to do, and you follow your heart. And then all of a sudden you end up and you have what you want, and you have, your adopted brother doing what he was always wanted to do. And 10 years ago, he thought it could be true, but he never really actually thought it could be true. And so now that it has come true, it just shows that, everybody can do anything. And if you just keep working hard, and if you get in the right situation, and you do your best, then you never know what could happen. And so our family is extremely excited for him. We're excited to play on the same field again. We're excited to be teammates. And we both want the same thing. We both want Oregon to be as successful as possible.
I love that, man. It's not even like a feel-good story either, because he truly is like one of the better receivers in college football. What do you think he's going to bring to that offense next year? And when he was in the portal, was it kind of difficult? Was it like a hard recruitment for him to come to Oregon, or was it always like, okay, he's coming to Oregon, you knew immediately?
Well, I think first, just from knowing his dreams and his goals, I knew that Oregon was going to be tough for him to say no to. And sure enough, when he got the opportunity, it wasn't even close. But he just adds, a spark. He's very he's hard to cover one-on-one. He's just a savvy receiver. He gets open, he catches the ball. And there's like pass catchers, and then there's receivers. Like pass catchers catch the ball, and they get the job done. but receivers go to that extra, like the next level, and they like receive the ball. They just go and get it wherever it is. They get open, they receive the ball, they help move the sticks, they make explosive plays. And I'd put him in that category of receiving. He makes your job easy. He just gets open. He plays bigger than what he is. He's faster, tough. And I just think that he's going to provide, a great extra tool for our receiver room, because they're so different and they all do different things, and they're all going to play really well off of each other. You got Troy coming back, you got Chris coming back, and then you got guys like Trey and Tez who are going to add to the mix. And, I think we got even more in the room that are going to do some really good things. And so I'm excited about that room. I think they're going to be really good.
I'm excited for that room too, dude. So you mentioned in a past interview before how, back when you were at Auburn, you were eager just to make it to the NFL. Now that is maybe your last season of college football, are you taking it all in this season?
Absolutely. Yes. I always wanted be a really good draft pick and to go play in the NFL. But at the same time, I don't want to give up what I have now, for those dreams, because those will come someday. I have an opportunity to chase after those. But right now, college football, you only get one time. You only get 3 to 5 years of it usually. And, I've obviously maximized all that I can out of it. But, it's just because I've continued to grow and develop. And I think that has helped me get to where I am today. And there's a lot that I still, want to grow and develop into, and another season of college football will help me do that. And I'm excited for the future, but at the same time, I love where I'm at right now. I love the present. And I think just each day is a gift that I get to go up there and work with, the people I get to work with, and the teammates that I get to play with. And, I'm just very fortunate, very blessed to be in this situation.
So your offensive coordinator now, Will Stein, says he calls you Coach Bo because you're basically another offensive coordinator on the field for them. So I wanted to put you in a situation now. Say it's 4th and 10, game on the line. What is the play call that you're drawing up?
What coverage are they going to play?
Let's say cover 2.
All right, cover 2. So, you can always win with 4 verticals, especially in that situation. 4th and 10, you want to push the ball down the field. You do not want to get tackled in front of the sticks. So you want to be able to push it past the sticks with a catch, and then tackle situation. But at the same time, you always got anything intermediate. You can go 3 by 1. You can send 2 and 3 vertical with a dig by number 1, and maybe either an under by the backside or a corner to hold the safety. There's a lot of things you can do. It also depends on your personnel. So in that situation, we'll get one of our guys in a good matchup and let him do what he does really well. I think 4th and 10 is not obviously where you want to be at, but at the same time, 4th and 10 is possible. And it happens all the time. You get in 4th and 10 and people get it and you're like, what happened? I think it's because defenses get a little bit softer and offenses don't have a choice but to be aggressive. And so I would either run 4 verts, because that's probably the best pass play in football if you're good at it, or I'd run, clear out, dig over the middle.
I love that, man. So Coach Bo has kind of a nice ring to it, man. Your dad obviously is a coach now as well. After you put on the gold jacket, after you're an NFL Hall of Famer, do you think coaching is something that you'd be willing to go into afterwards?
Yes, I've always wanted to coach, and for whatever reason that may be, I've always wanted to be a high school football coach and go back to Friday Night Lights, and where football is at its purest form. I think that's where I want to be, and can coach my sons if I have them, be around my family, and just enjoy the experience of being around just pure football that people are playing because they're having fun, and that it's the town's way of life, and it's just very fun, and there's nothing like Friday nights to me.
I love that, man. Friday Night Lights are something different for sure. So I want to ask you a couple more questions. I really appreciate the time, man. So what is the farthest that you've ever thrown? Have you ever measured how far you've ever thrown? And what is the farthest that you think you've ever thrown a football in your career?
My senior year of high school, actually, it was, I think it was the semifinals in the playoffs. It was the snap actually went over my head. And so I had to kind of retreat about 15, 20 yards. So when I got the ball, one of my receivers was kind of running back there in the back because the defense kind of don't know what to they never know what to do if it's a bad snap. Like, do I stop? Do I run after the ball? Do I kind of wait? So sometimes you get a broken down play and things actually work out. So I saw one of my receivers just running deep, and I threw it, kind of as far as I could, but just chunked it. And the ball just kind of kept going, and he kept running, and the DBs kept backing up, and there was like a bunch of them, and it kind of like hit him, like hit one of them like probably in the head, and the ball bounced backwards. But if it would have landed, it would have probably landed around 70, 72 yards, I think, with adrenaline and with just chunking it as far as you can. I haven't come close to that again, but probably on a normal day, I can throw it 63 to 65 yards.
Dude, 70 yards as a senior in high school. That is absolutely ridiculous, man. But that's insane. I can't believe you did that. I got to look up that play for sure. What do you think separates you, man, from other quarterbacks in college football, though?
I think my competitiveness and just at any point in the game, not like refusing to quit, just putting everything on the line, going out there and playing as hard as I can for the guys beside me, and doing whatever I have to do to win the game. And at times, I think that competition is coming, very handy at the end of the games, and it's just, it's a joy to me. If I have the ball last, I love it. That's where I want to be. That's what I want. That's how I want the game to end. Obviously, if we don't beat them by a lot, and if we don't have the game and in our hands, but if it's close and it's getting tight at the end of the game, I definitely want the football. And there's a lot of guys with that trait. A lot of guys in college football want that same thing, and I would say that I'm one of them because I just think that's when it's the most fun. I think football is the most fun when it's that close and the game's on the line.
I love that mentality, man. Last question I want to ask you. What should we college football fans expect not only from Bo Nix next year, but the Oregon Ducks as well?
I think we're going to be very consistent again. I think, we have the skill players to be very good. We're going to be new up front with new experience up front, but those guys are really good football players. I'm excited for those guys to really get on the field for the first time. A lot of new guys, but a lot of guys that sit behind some veteran guys that are going to have their chance to go out there and do what they do best. And, I'm excited to work with Coach Stein. He's going to do a really good job for us. We're going to spread the ball out, around, get the ball in the hands of our playmakers, and then let them do what they do best.
Bo, this is a fantastic interview, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Thank you. Of course, I appreciate you having me, and go Ducks.